Hi, I'm Carmel Fisher, and you're watching the Sequire Spotlight. Today, we are highlighting Perk International on the OTC markets as PRKI. With me is Nelson Grist, Chairman of the Board and CEO, to give us a little more insight into what Perk does and what exciting trends are coming up for them. Welcome, Nelson. Lovely to have you.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome.
Yeah. Tell us more about Perk International, what you guys get up to.
So Perk International is a functional medicine kind of acquisition merger company. We try to search out companies and products that are in that functional medicine space, and then basically adapt into our marketing team, our fundraising group, and allow that technology to kind of expand. And then we have an array of doctors that kind of support what they're saying to make sure that it's not just, I call it hocus pocus medicine, that it's actually backed by professional doctors and nurse practitioners and whoever kind of has the foot into the functional medicine space.
Got it. And I know that Perk International aims to disrupt the normalcy of traditional Western medicine. How do you plan on doing that?
So I think, especially with the whole pandemic and everything, I think we came to realization that there's, we were kind of shocked, and this is maybe my naivety about it, but shocked that other countries make our prescriptions and pharmaceutical type items. So basically, I think there's two directions. One, the Eastern, Western, some people go too far on each side. We're kind of in that middle. And we're not saying that there are a need for some type of the, Western type medicine, but most of that medicine also creates another side effect that you didn't really have. So our technology shows that there's alternatives to being healthier, not just fixing an issue and creating another one. And like I said earlier, we're bringing medical professionals into the functional space. It used to be, people in their basement trying to come up with a concoction using, whatever grandma had recommended, which was a little bit too far out and no one really bought into it. But now we actually have medical professionals developing a functional alternative to what we've been kind of told to do by our doctors.
Wonderful. So what brings you to this space and what are you most passionate about?
Great question. Not that the other ones aren't good questions, but it's funny because I love telling the story. So I've been in the CPG world for years in consumer packaged goods, and majority was in the pet industry, and just saw alternative things that people would use for their pet that really got some big benefits. And right when the Farm Bill passed on hemp and everything, I really took some time to research, is it just one of those things where people want to use hemp and THC and different kinds of things? Or is there actually a difference in what people are seeing in benefits? So I talked to several people that were doing functional medicine kind of on their own. And I realized that there's a lot of great results coming from the functional space. The unfortunate thing is there's really nobody doing it kind of at a high level to give people the confidence that there is research behind the functional medicine, as opposed to big pharma. Most of us, shouldn't say all of us, but most of us kind of think, oh, if big pharma tells us to do it, our doctor tells us to do it, then we do it. But we're finding now, like I said, with the credibility of real doctors recommending a different approach to medicine, as opposed to just healing one issue, we're actually trying to make everyone live healthier and better lives. So I had suffered from gout for years and, followed the kind of the Western style. It's beef, it's this, it's that. And then came across a whole new diet plan. I lost, several pounds of weight, lots more energy. And I started thinking even more and more so about how do we bring, the knowledge base that there's alternative ways of living that actually create healthier lives as opposed to living with something for the rest of our lives.
100% more of a holistic approach to health and well-being, correct? So in September, you signed a letter of intent with a luxury skincare brand. Do you want to elaborate on that and tell us how that relationship's going?
Yes. So the theory behind that, we talked to a neurologist a few years back, and he had talked about the microbiomes of the body and the stomach. And if your microbiomes are in line, it takes away a lot of different things: depression, tiredness, cognitive ability, all those kind of things. And then we came to the approach with our advisors and said, what goes on the skin, 99% of the time will soak into the body. So we've been kind of on the search for a brand that's an organic-based brand. There's a lot of products out there that make the claim we're natural. And then you read some of the ingredient list and you go to the information on those ingredients, And there are tendencies for it to cause something else. It may be a very small risk, but we figured out, let's take the risk completely out of it. Everything's organic. So the potential acquisition has been reigned together, has about bringing people together, high quality ingredients, backed by, estheticians, backed by formulators that believe the same path that the holistic, organic, natural way is the better way.
Wonderful. What kind of return do you think they're bringing for investors, if you can just bring it down to that specific relationship?
So I sometimes struggle on mentioning the return because it helps with our overall plan. So when we go to market and we started to go into different things, it allows us to reach our goal of saying that we now have a skincare line that doesn't affect the microbiomes of the body. I think the return, looking at the company itself, they kind of started right before COVID, so they never really got the launch that they needed. And then some of the investors kind of lost interest. So I think with the right influx of an investment and funding, then I think it's probably a pretty successful operation for us. And then all of a sudden, obviously, the person that owns that now will fall under our vice president of business operations, who has already started bringing us huge contacts and networking to upscale the overall goal of our company.
Excellent. Let's talk more about some of your biggest brands that you have under your umbrella, and highlight the importance that they bring in, with the significance of the relationships you have with them.
So all of our brands, again, are all put together for a basic reason: provide a healthier outcome. So whether it's the foods program we're developing with Mezza Restaurants, and the owner of that, he's one of our advisors on developing healthy foods. There's a lot of meal replacement companies out there that, if you read the ingredients, they're loaded with sugar and all these other things. And it might be quick, but it's not giving the overall health that you need. So we're basing our stuff, very similar to a keto diet, but I think we kind of escalate or elevate the keto part. Keto has some different things that maybe our philosophy doesn't really agree with, but we agree with most of it. And then providing that with our clients with the med spas that we have. So there's an interaction with that customer. It's not just FedEx receives your meal box and you don't really know if it's benefiting you or not. So we're able to measure and kind of like work with those clients. Is the food treating you right? Are you seeing the results you want to results you want to see? But also guaranteeing those results if they follow kind of our plan. I've brought out other products years ago, and I've always offered a money back guarantee. And everyone said, is it a 30? Is it a 60? And in my mind, if you develop the right products, you can offer a lifetime guarantee on your products and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. In other companies, we had less than a 1% return rate on the product. So again, if we follow the process, so they have to do weekly visits on, measurements and size and different things, and then commitment. And if they don't get the results, then we refund them all their money.
Wonderful. What other high potential acquisitions are in the near term future that you can speak of?
So right now we're in negotiations with some medical device companies that have patented process on removing toxins from the body. It's very important to, if you're going to change everything, we need to remove the bad toxins out of your body. The next one we're working on as well, kind of more of a collaboration with a company that has access to over 11,000 med spas. And we're trying to build a relationship that we go in as our brand and have a piece of that environment. A lot of high-end hotels will offer massage and facials and different things, but they don't offer the IVs. They don't offer the hormone replacements. They don't offer the whole breakdown of the nutrition. So we're looking at working with them to hopefully be able to have that access, as opposed to trying to reach that access on our own. They've been doing this for several years and have great relationships with all their clients, and we'll go in there as a addition to their service and then represent our Mint Med Spa brand.
Excellent. Of course, everyone's kind of just trickling out of COVID and, the challenges that multiple companies faced during that time. What do you see the future looking like for Perk, say in the next 5 years?
So, again, like one thing the pandemic, I think, brought more light into kind of how the FDA and the government kind of controls us, as opposed to, us being able to determine what's right for us. So it's kind of really, I think, increased the light on functional medicine. We're getting a lot more inquiries of, what kind of things work, what don't work. And with our, we're working with companies that have amniotic fluid, exosomes, stem cells that are showing some real benefits in helping with whether it's COVID lungs, COVID brain, with concussions. And then unfortunately, the FDA kind of steps in and says, we need to review all this stuff first. But because of the med spa relationship, people have their own opportunity to, it's cash pay, but they don't run it through insurance. So my focus for the next 5 years is nothing but upward growth, based on what we're seeing on, the functional medicine awareness now. And so as the pandemic hurt a lot of businesses, for us, it really actually benefited us because it really brought a light into how much, big pharma controls what we put in our bodies. And, I think with, we've seen kind of with the vaccine, I hate to mention it, but now we're finding out some things that may not have been known at the early onset of it. So that's kind of, I've always said, when government puts lives ahead of, put the message ahead of the lives of American people in the world, I have a real issue with that. And I think, being in a free country, we should have the right to decide whether or not we want to put a vaccine in our body. And I think about all the frontline people who were there at the early stages and taking care of everybody, and then they were losing their jobs because they didn't want to get vaccinated. Like it baffles me, the message that, that sends to the American people.
I hear you. In terms of the stock itself, can you give us any forecasting ideas around that?
Yeah, so we're right now, in that development startup stage. We've had some issues with some of our auditors, and we're working through that. We're currently working through our audit system and making sure we find the right audit company for us. We've had some okay ones, but they've delayed, and it's been a timely issue. So we're working through that. Eventually, the stock, and our goal is to obviously lift up to uplift to a NASDAQ board and stuff, bulletin board, stuff like that. But we're trying to, and making sure the message is exactly the same. We're for our clients, one, and then obviously the shareholders and stuff. So we're, like I said earlier, we're open book. If any of our shareholders have questions, we're more than willing to answer them. We've started to put out, some press releases where we've tried to have shareholder meetings and calling calls, and so far we haven't had any response. But we're an open book, and we're working on doing the things to grow the value of the company and the stock price.
Excellent. Tell us more about your team and the board of directors, so to speak.
So currently, I'm the only board of director. We're just kind of growing into that, and I've always been one that's been very, I guess, kind of close to the heart of making sure that our board of directors, that they share the same goals with us. Our team is pretty small right now. We have a vice president of business development. We have an executive assistant that kind of manages the process. And then there's me. And then we have some third-party people that we work with on whether a consulting basis or, per needed basis and stuff like that. So it's small. With these acquisitions, we're in the process of hopefully fulfilling. Then obviously the team starts to grow. But I've just been doing this for so long, and you can add team when you don't even have the right finances, and it just drains the money.
100%. Right. Thank you so much for the conversation. If you want to leave us with 3 key takeaways, we'd be happy to hear that right now.
So I think number one is, we're really focused on betterment of health, not just fixing a problem. Where I think Western medicine is like, if you got an ache, let's get rid of it. But we want to drill down to why you have that ache. And I think functional medicine has grown into that with, like I said, more credible people talking about functional medicine. I think the other key point is we don't bring out products just to bring them out. We won't do a press release just to say something. We want to make sure that everything we do adds value, because I think we're judged on our loyalty to our shareholders and our clients. And then also potentially, we don't want to mislead anybody at all. And then I think the third key thing is, we're all working towards the betterment of health. And, there's been some acquisitions that have come our way that just don't fit into our goal and our focus. And not that I wouldn't love to have them into our portfolio, but they just don't fit. So we're not going to bring anything into that doesn't fit with our goal and our focus.
Wonderful. You got to stay in the lane to win the race.
Exactly right.
Excellent, Nelson. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed this conversation. You're watching the Sequire Spotlight. Stay tuned for more.
Thank you.